Yeah, you got it, Steph. So let's bring you back to what happened on that 401. What we know, one driver suffering life-threatening injuries in that crash that has shut down a major portion of the 401, those eastbound express lanes that Steph has just mentioned. So here's what we know. The crash between two tractor trailers happened around 1:15 this morning in the eastbound express lanes near Allen Road. The driver had to be extricated by emergency crews, rushed to hospital. Just a few minutes ago, we got this update from the OPP.
A transport truck was stopped on the right shoulder. Moments later, a second transport truck approached, entered the bullnose, which then struck a Jersey barrier, which propelled the truck up into the air and struck the bridge abutment.
It's a pretty remarkable crash here. Now, this is back to a live look at the scene. The OPP saying the engineers with the Ministry of Transportation, they're now there. They're checking on the safety of that northbound Allen Bridge just past the 401 that was struck. So you can imagine it's going to be closed for some time. Let's bring Steph back in here. Steph, we were talking about this morning and really trying to figure out if this is going to be structurally sound.
Right. This is honestly, it's a pretty big crash in this area, and it's unclear when this is going to reopen here. But as you mentioned there, they have to do this investigation, and that's what they're currently doing now. So this is a collision investigation that is still ongoing. Once that wraps up, then we will see a cleanup start to ensue through this area. So this will likely be closed for probably most of the morning, if not all morning long for us. And as you mentioned, Mel, this happened at about 1:40, or rather 1:20 this morning is when we actually got the call about this. And MCO saying that's going to take several hours for this to clear up. So right now, this is what we're watching, and we'll be watching it all morning long. Those trucks still on the scene, and you can see lots of emergency crews are there as well.
All right, Steph, thanks for that. And of course, they've got to get heavy tow out of there. As Steph mentioned, those trucks are still at the scene. It's quite remarkable, and we are keeping an eye as well on the condition of that driver. So stay with us here. Steph will give you what's happening with the roads, and we'll let you know what's happening with that investigation. Appreciate it, Steph. Thank you. All right, let's move along to some other news that we're following right now, to Toronto's battle with COVID-19. The city has closed the Flemington Early Learning Childcare Centre in North York because of an outbreak. Now, we are standing by live there as well. The centre on St. Denis Drive near Eglinton and Don Mills. There are 4 positive cases there, 2 employees and 2 children testing positive during the holiday break. Children and staff from the centre are now self-isolating and watching for symptoms, while a thorough cleaning takes place at this facility. Right now, there's no date for reopening. The centre will be following advice from Toronto Public Health, so we'll watch that. Meanwhile, for the 5th straight day, there have been no new COVID-19 cases reported at Tender Care Living Centre, but sadly, 2 more people have died, which brings the number of deaths to 62. There are now 55 resolved cases, 59 current active cases amongst the residents at the long-term care home, which is on McNichol Avenue in Scarborough. There are also 65 resolved cases among the staff, but 21 still self-isolating at home and recuperating from this virus. Let's talk about the numbers now. Ontario has confirmed 3 more cases of the quickly spreading strain of COVID to bring the total in the province now up to 6. Some 3,270 new cases were reported Ontario-wide yesterday, which is up over 300 cases from the day before. Toronto continues to lead the way with new cases, with 917, followed by Peel and York. 29 new deaths reported. And these numbers come on the same day that Toronto says it's going to publish the names of specific workplaces on its website dealing with COVID outbreaks. Now, the mayor says in order to stem the spread at places of employment, it is relying on businesses to report that information.
A lot of this has to do with information those employers have to provide now to us, in which case, depending on what's provided, that can lead to, other visits and examinations of what's going on in those places of employment.
75 Loblaw workers, I should say, have tested positive for COVID-19 around the GTA since Christmas Eve. Loblaw saying it's working closely with public health to ensure safety. If you want to see a full look at some of the affected stores, you can find that on our website, citynews.ca. Now, to talk about the new guidelines implemented by the city, we're going to be joined by employment lawyer Stuart Rudner, joining me at 7:30 this morning. Industry experts say the federal government has tossed the travel industry into a tailspin over confusion surrounding new COVID-19 testing rules. The Association of Canadian Independent Travel Advisors saying there is still a lot of uncertainty over new rules requiring a COVID-19 test before travelers can come back to Canada, including which tests are considered acceptable and how airline employees will determine if a test certificate is valid. The association says it also worries that clients will face price gouging for tests while abroad. The testing policy comes into effect on Thursday. Well, despite warnings from health officials and others, it seems nearly half of us admit to visiting someone outside of those we live over the holidays. A new Leger survey suggesting 48% of those surveyed said they went to see friends and family over the holidays, and that's compared to 50% who said they followed the guidelines. More than 1,500 people were surveyed between December 30th and January the 3rd, as we learned about several politicians who traveled abroad. Well, last year, conversations around racism and policing, they were at the forefront. And now one organization is proposing a series of solutions to tackle this issue. Coming up at 6:30, how Toronto can rethink community safety and make positive change in policing. And as mentioned, 7:30, we're talking about employee rights during COVID-19. And here's just a glimpse of some other topics we're discussing as well. All right. Let's bring you back to Stephanie Henry, who's keeping an eye on what's going on the 401. Just getting an update on some timelines here, Steph.
Yeah, good morning, Mel. Yeah, so we're just getting this now that the express lanes are actually going to be expected to stay closed actually until about 11 this morning. So again, give yourself that extra time. This is a look at what we have going on in the area as of right now, looking at very significant and heavy delays on the eastbound 401 from about Weston in the express. So very, very slow going through this area. Again, eastbound 401 shut down from east of the 400 to about Allen in the express because of a serious collision involving two tractor trailers. We'll keep our eye on this throughout the morning. We have more BT coming up right after the break.